The cargo ship docked with a heavy clunk against the station's airlock. Taewon shut down the engines and stretched his arms above his head. His back ached from sitting in the pilot's seat for 16 hours straight. The Wandering Star was not a fancy ship, but it got him from place to place, and that was enough. Crimson Vale Station appeared on his screen. The station floated in empty space, far from any planets or busy trade routes. People came here when they wanted to do business that nobody should see. Taewon did not like this place, but his ship needed repairs and the prices here were good. He walked through the narrow metal corridors of the station. The air smelled like oil and something sweet that made his nose wrinkle. Aliens of different species pushed past him. Nobody smiled. Nobody made eye contact. Everyone here had secrets. Daejung's repair shop sat in the lower level of the station. Taewon's friend was under a ship when he arrived, only his legs sticking out. Tools were scattered everywhere on the dirty floor. "Your coolant system is leaking again," Daejung said without coming out from under the ship. "I told you to replace it last time." "I know," Taewon said. "How much?" "For you? 3,000 credits. But it will take 2 days," Taewon sighed. 2 days on this station meant 2 days of trying not to get into trouble. Daejung finally rolled out from under the ship and wiped grease from his hands. "There is an auction tonight," Daejung said quietly. "In the lower levels. The illegal kind." "I do not care about auctions," Taewon said. "It is a slave auction," Daejung continued. His voice was even quieter now. "I know you hate slavers. I am just warning you. Stay away from the lower levels tonight." Taewon felt anger rise in his chest. He had his reasons for hating slavers. His sister died because of them a long time ago. But he pushed the anger down and nodded. He would stay away. He would not cause trouble. But later that night, as he lay in his small room at the station, he could not sleep. His mind kept thinking about the auction, about people being sold like cargo, about his sister's face the last time he saw her. Finally, he got up and put on his jacket. He would just look, just watch from the back. He would not do anything stupid. The auction hall was deep in the station's belly. The lights were dim and the air was hot. About 50 beings sat in rows of chairs facing a small stage. Most were aliens, but Taewon saw a few humans too. Rich traders and collectors who did not care where their merchandise came from. He stood in the back, his arms crossed, watching. The auctioneer was a tall creature with too many arms and a voice that echoed off the walls. One by one, slaves were brought onto the stage. First came an engineer. The bidding went high. 500,000 credits, then a group of workers, strong and healthy. They sold quickly. Then others. Each one went for huge amounts of money. Taewon felt sick watching it, but he could not look away. Near the end of the auction, the auctioneer's voice changed. It sounded frustrated now. "Our final item," the auctioneer said. "This is difficult merchandise. A Valir female, young untrained." 2 guards wheeled out a cage. Inside was a small figure. She was shorter than a human child, with skin that seemed to change colors in the light. 4 arms, big eyes that caught the light and glowed. She was pressed against the back corner of the cage, making herself as small as possible. Taewon had heard of the Valir. Everyone thought they were all dead. Their planet was destroyed years ago. "She has been through 7 owners," the auctioneer continued. "All returned her or discarded her. She is violent. She does not speak any known language. She attacks people. She refuses to eat, but she is rare. Perhaps someone here can tame her." The auctioneer started the bidding at 10,000 credits. Nobody raised a hand. He dropped it to 5,000. Still nothing. 3,000! The room was silent. Taewon looked at the girl in the cage. She had scars on her arms and back, fresh bruises on her face. Her eyes moved quickly, watching everyone, ready to fight or run. She looked like a trapped animal. But there was something else in those eyes, something that made Taewon's chest hurt. It was not just fear. It was resignation. She knew nobody wanted her. She knew what came next. "No bids?" the auctioneer asked. "Very well. She will be disposed of after the auction." Disposed of. The words hit Taewon like a punch. They were going to kill her. Just throw her away because nobody wanted to buy her. His hand went up before he could think about it. 3,000, he heard himself say. The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at him. The auctioneer's mouth opened in surprise. "Sold," the auctioneer said quickly, before Taewon could change his mind. To the human in the back. Taewon felt like he was in a dream. A bad dream. He had just spent all his money. The money for fuel. The money for food. 3,000 credits for a girl nobody wanted. What had he done? 2 hours later, they delivered her to his ship. She wore a shock collar and metal restraints on all 4 wrists. The slavers pushed the cage up his loading ramp and left quickly, like they were happy to be rid of her. Tae-Wan stood in his cargo bay, looking at the cage. The girl looked back at him. Her glowing eyes did not blink. He opened the cage door slowly. She did not move. He reached for the shock collar and she exploded into motion. 4 arms swung at him. She was small but incredibly fast. Tae-Wan had military training from his years in the service. He ducked and moved back, not trying to hit her, just staying out of reach. "I am not going to hurt you," he said in Korean, his native language. She would not understand the words, but maybe she would understand his tone. "I am not going to hurt you," she kept attacking. Her movements were wild but precise. Every strike aimed for his throat, his eyes, his weak points. She was trying to kill him. Tae-Wan kept backing up, kept dodging. He did not fight back. Finally, she stopped. Not because she wanted to, but because she was exhausted. Her small chest heaved as she breathed hard. Sweat dripped down her face. She backed into a corner of the cargo bay and collapsed there, all 4 arms wrapped around herself. But her eyes never left him. They watched him with the intensity of a predator, ready to spring again if he moved. Tae-Wan sat down on the floor far away from her. He did not try to get closer. He just sat there breathing hard himself. "My name is Tae-Wan," he said quietly. "I know you cannot understand me, but I am not going to hurt you. I promise." She did not respond. She just stared at him with those glowing eyes, like she was deciding if he was telling the truth or if he was just another person who would hurt her. Tae-Wan looked at the shock collar still around her neck. Slowly, carefully, he stood up. She tensed immediately, ready to fight again. He raised his hands, showing they were empty. "I am going to remove that collar," he said. "It is going to be okay." He walked toward her slowly. Every step made her shrink further into the corner. When he was close enough, he reached for the collar. She flinched but did not attack. His fingers found the release button and the collar fell away. She touched her neck with one hand, feeling where the collar had been. Then she looked at him again, and for just a second there was something other than fear in her eyes. Confusion, maybe, or surprise. Tae-Wan backed away again and sat down. They stayed like that for a long time. Him on one side of the cargo bay, her on the other, neither of them moving. Outside the ship, the station continued its dark business. But inside the Wandering Star, in the quiet cargo bay, something had changed. Tae-Wan had no idea what he was going to do with this wild, broken girl. He had no idea how to help her, but he knew one thing for certain. He was not going to give up on her. He was not going to throw her away like everyone else had, even if he had no idea what he was doing. The first week was terrible. The girl refused to eat anything Tae-Wan gave her. He would place food near her corner of the cargo bay and walk away. Hours later, the food would still be there untouched. On the 3rd day, he tried something different. He made rice and vegetables, simple food that reminded him of home. He sat down in the middle of the cargo bay and ate it himself, making sure she could see him. He ate slowly, showing her it was safe. Then he placed a bowl near her and walked away. He went to the cockpit and watched through the security camera. For 2 hours, she did nothing. Then when she thought he was gone, she grabbed the bowl and ate so fast she almost choked. She was starving. After that, she started eating the food he left, but only when he was not in the room. She still would not let him come close. The ship's computer, Sarah, monitored everything. The AI spoke to Tae-Wan through speakers in every room. "She is malnourished," Sarah reported one morning. "Her body temperature is too low. She is not sleeping enough. I recommend sedation and medical treatment." "No," Tae-Wan said firmly. "No sedation. No restraints. She has been controlled enough. She may die without intervention," Sarah said. "Then that is her choice," Tae-Wan replied. "I am not going to force her." He continued his cargo runs. The jobs were simple and kept him busy. He hauled supplies to mining colonies and brought ore back to trading stations. The girl stayed in the cargo bay, always watching, always ready to run or fight. Tae-Wan learned to move slowly around her. No sudden movements, no loud noises. He talked to her even though she did not understand. He told her about the planets they passed, about the jobs he did, about his sister who died. Her name was Yujin, he said one night. They were in hyperspace, and the stars outside looked like long streaks of light. She was younger than me. Slavers took her when I was not there to protect her. I never saw her again. The girl did not respond, but her eyes followed him as he spoke. Maybe she heard the sadness in his voice. Maybe she understood loss, even if she did not understand the words. 2 weeks passed. Then 3. Small changes happened. The girl moved closer to the living area. Not much, just a few meters each day. She started watching Taiwan work on the ship's systems. Her eyes tracked his hands as he repaired things. Then came the incident with the asteroid. They were passing through an old mining field when a fragment hit the ship. It was not big enough to cause real damage, but it hit hard. The lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in after a few seconds, bathing everything in red light. Taiwan ran through the ship, checking for hull breaches. Everything was fine, just a power fluctuation. But when he got to the cargo bay, he heard a sound he had never heard before. The girl was making a low, keening noise. Not quite crying, not quite screaming. Something in between. She was curled up in the smallest ball possible, all 4 arms wrapped tight around herself. Her whole body shook. Taiwan understood. The darkness. The impact. It must have reminded her of something terrible. Maybe the destruction of her planet. Maybe one of the many times she was hurt by her previous owners. He did not try to touch her. He just sat down on the floor across from her. The emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. His mother used to sing to him when he was scared as a child. A simple melody, a traditional Korean lullaby about the moon. He started humming it, quietly at first, then a little louder. He did not look at her directly. He just hummed and looked at the floor. The keening sound stopped. He kept humming. Minutes passed. When he finally looked up, she was staring at him. Her eyes were wide, but she was not shaking anymore. Her breathing had slowed. He finished the lullaby and stopped. They sat in silence. She did not run away. She did not curl up again. She just sat there, watching him with those strange, glowing eyes. Something had changed. The next morning, Taiwan woke up to find she had moved. Not back to her corner. Closer to the living quarters. Closer to where he slept. It was progress. Small but real. He started leaving data tablets around the ship. Simple ones with pictures and basic words. A picture of food with the word beneath it. A picture of water. A picture of the ship. At first, she ignored them. But Sarah reported that the girl examined them when Taiwan was asleep. She would pick them up and study the pictures. The Valir were known for being quick learners back before their planet was destroyed. Maybe some of that ability remained. Taiwan started narrating everything he did. When he fixed something, he said it out loud. When he made food, he described each step. When he prepared the ship for jump, he explained the process. "I am checking the engine temperature," he would say. "Too hot is bad. Too cold is also bad. It needs to be just right." He felt foolish talking to someone who could not understand, but he did it anyway. And slowly he noticed changes. When he said certain words, her head would turn. When he mentioned food, she would look toward the kitchen area. She was learning. One day, about a month after he bought her, Taiwan was repairing a coolant leak. It was frustrating work. The pipe was old and kept breaking in new places. He had to crawl into a tight space to reach it. When he finally finished and crawled out, dirty and tired, he found something on the floor. A data tablet. On it was a crude drawing. Stick figures. One was tall with 2 arms. That was him. The other was small with 4 arms. That was her. The tall figure held a tool. The small figure stood nearby, watching. Taiwan looked up. She was standing in the doorway. Not hiding. Not ready to run. Just standing there looking at him. He smiled and held up the tablet. He pointed to the tall figure, then to himself. Then he pointed to the small figure and to her. She watched him carefully, then he nodded. A simple gesture, understanding. She did not smile, but she did not run away either. She stayed in the doorway for a few more seconds, then turned and walked back to the cargo bay. But it was different now. She walked, not ran. There was no panic in her movements. That night, Taiwan could not sleep. He lay in his bunk thinking about the drawing. It was such a small thing, just stick figures on a tablet, but it meant everything. It meant she was trying to communicate. It meant she saw him as something other than a threat. It meant there was a person inside all that fear and trauma. A person who wanted to connect with someone, even if she did not know how. The next day, he left a tablet for her. On it, he drew two figures, one tall, one small. Between them, he drew a simple house. He did not know if she would understand. He did not even know what he was trying to say. Maybe just that this ship was home now, for both of them. When he checked later, the tablet was gone. He found it in her sleeping area. She had added to his drawing. She had drawn stars around the house. And in the doorway of the house, she had drawn the two figures again, but this time they were closer together. Taewon felt his throat get tight. He was not a man who cried easily, but he had to wipe his eyes. 3 months after the auction, the girl did something that shocked him. He was sitting in the cockpit, flying through hyperspace, when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned slowly. She stood in the doorway of the cockpit. She had never come this far into the ship before. Never come this close to him voluntarily. She pointed at the screen showing the stars. Then she pointed at a tablet in one of her hands. On it was a picture of space. Space, Taewon said carefully. We are traveling through space. She tilted her head, processing the word. Her lips moved slightly, like she was trying to form the sound. It did not come out right, but she was trying. Taewon felt his heart beat faster. This was progress. Real progress. She was not just surviving anymore. She was trying to learn, trying to understand. He gestured to the empty co-pilot seat. She looked at it, then at him, then back at the seat. Slowly, carefully, she climbed into it. She was so small that her feet did not touch the floor. She sat on the edge, ready to jump and run if needed, but she stayed. They sat together in the cockpit, watching the stars stream past. Taewon did not speak. He did not want to break the moment. She watched the screen with wide eyes, all 4 hands gripping the armrests of the chair. After an hour, she climbed down and left. But the next day, she came back. And the day after that, each time she stayed a little longer. Trust, Taewon realized, was not built in big moments. It was built in small ones. In quiet hours sitting together. In drawings on tablets. In lullabies hummed in the dark. He had bought her at an auction because nobody else would. But now he could not imagine his ship without her. The silence did not feel lonely anymore. Her presence, even without words, filled the empty spaces. She was not just cargo he had rescued. She was becoming something more. Something he did not have a word for yet. Family, maybe. Strange and broken and built from nothing. But family all the same. 3 months had passed since the auction. The girl still did not speak, but she understood more each day. She could follow simple commands. She knew the names of things around the ship. And most importantly, she no longer flinched when Taewon moved near her. One morning, Taewon got a message from an old contact named Kyung-soo. The job was simple: transport medical supplies to a colony world called Haven's Rest. The pay was good, better than his usual jobs. He accepted without thinking too hard about it. The journey took 5 days. The girl spent most of the time in the cockpit now, sitting in the co-pilot chair. She watched everything Taewon did. Sometimes he caught her trying to mimic his movements, her hands reaching for controls she did not understand. On the 4th day, something went wrong. They dropped out of hyperspace early. Alarms screamed through the ship. 3 vessels appeared on the scanner. Pirates. This is Captain Vex of the Crimson Hand. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Resist and you die, a voice crackled over the comm. Taewon's blood went cold. He knew that name. Captain Vex. 5 years ago, Taewon had been part of a military operation that destroyed one of Vex's slave trading operations. They had freed hundreds of captives. Vex had lost millions of credits that day. He looked at the scanner. 3 ships against his unarmed cargo hauler. No weapons. No way to fight. No way to run. His engines were not fast enough. The girl sensed his fear. She looked at him, her glowing eyes questioning. He tried to smile, but it did not reach his eyes. Hide. Stay quiet, he told her, using one of the simple words she understood. He pointed to a ventilation shaft. She hesitated. Her 4 hands gripped the armrests of the chair. She did not want to leave him. Go, he said more firmly. Please. She climbed down from the chair and ran. He heard her small feet pattering through the corridors. Then silence. She had hidden. The pirates docked with his ship. 6 of them boarded, all armed with plasma weapons. Taewon stood in the cargo bay, his hands raised. No point in fighting. Not yet. Captain Vex was the last to enter. He was tall, with cybernetic implants covering half his face. One eye glowed red. He smiled when he saw Taewon. "I thought I recognized this ship." "Taewon, it has been a long time. 5 years since you destroyed my operation on Kelsor Station. I have been looking for you," Beck spoke with cold satisfaction. "That was a military operation," Taewon replied. "Not personal, you cost me millions. You freed my property. That is very personal." "On your knees." Beck stepped closer. 2 pirates grabbed Taewon and forced him down. The metal floor was cold against his knees. This was it then. He was going to die here. He just hoped the girl would stay hidden. Hoped she would survive somehow. "Search the ship. Take everything of value," Vex ordered. The pirates spread out. Taewon heard them tearing through his quarters, smashing equipment, laughing. Then one of them shouted from near the ventilation shaft. "Got something here. Some kind of alien." No. Taewon's heart stopped. The pirate dragged her out by one arm. She was not fighting. She looked terrified. All 4 arms wrapped around herself protectively. "What do we have here?" "A Velir. I thought they were all dead. This one is worth more than your entire ship." Vex walked over to her. The pirate holding her laughed. He shook her roughly. "She is small. Probably not good for much," and that was when everything changed. The girl looked at Taewon. Their eyes met. He saw the question there. Should she fight? He wanted to tell her no, wanted to tell her to stay safe. But before he could make a sound, she made her choice. Her 4 arms exploded into motion. One grabbed the pirate's weapon hand and twisted. The bone snapped with a sound like a dry branch breaking. Another arm struck his throat. The third drove into his stomach. The fourth swept his legs. It happened in less than 3 seconds. The pirate collapsed, gasping for air. The girl had his plasma pistol in 2 of her hands before he hit the ground. The cargo bay erupted in chaos. Pirates shouted and raised their weapons. But the girl was faster. She was not random and wild like when she first attacked Taewon. This was different. This was precise. Every movement had purpose. She used her size. She was small and fast, hard to hit. She moved under their shots, between their legs, around their defenses. Her 4 arms gave her advantages they could not counter. While 2 arms fired the stolen weapons, the other 2 arms struck at weak points. The Velir were not a peaceful species. Before their extinction, they were hunters, predators. Evolution had made them dangerous. And this girl, broken and traumatized as she was, still had all those instincts buried inside her. She was not fighting to escape. She was fighting to protect Taewon. 2 pirates went down, then 3. The others backed toward the airlock, firing wildly. None of their shots hit her. She was too fast, too unpredictable. Vex pulled his own weapon, a heavy plasma pistol. He aimed it at Taewon's head. "Stop or he dies." The girl froze. She was across the bay, crouched low. 2 pistols aimed at the remaining pirates. But her eyes were on Vex, on the weapon pointed at Taewon. For a moment, nobody moved. Taewon could hear his own heartbeat, could smell the ozone from the plasma weapons, could see the girl trembling with rage and fear. Then Vex made a mistake. He glanced away for just a second, looking at one of his wounded crew members. It was all the opening she needed. She launched herself across the bay, not running, leaping. Her small body flew through the air. 4 arms reached out. She hit Vex like a missile. They crashed to the floor. The girl's hands were everywhere. One grabbed his weapon. Another locked around his throat. The 3rd and 4th pinned his arms. She was on top of him, her glowing eyes inches from his face. A low growl came from her throat. Not quite human, not quite animal. Taewon saw her hand tighten on Vex's throat, saw the rage in her eyes. She was going to kill him. Hana, no. The name came out of his mouth before he could think. He did not know where it came from. It was a Korean name. It meant flower. She froze. Slowly, her head turned to look at him. Her eyes were wild, but there was recognition there. She understood her name. The name he had just given her. Please do not kill him. You are not like them. You are better than them, Taewon said softly. For a long moment, she did not move. Her hand stayed tight on Vex's throat. He was turning purple, gasping for air. Then slowly, she loosened her grip. She did not let go completely, but she let him breathe. The remaining conscious pirates ran. They dragged their wounded and fled back to their ships. Within minutes, they were gone, jumping away to hyperspace. The cargo bay was a mess, scorch marks on the walls, broken equipment everywhere. But they were alive. Hana climbed off Vex and walked to Taewon. Her 4 hands were shaking. Blood covered her clothes, though none of it seemed to be hers. She stood in front of him, looking up at his face. Then, for the first time since he bought her, she spoke. Her voice was rough, uncertain, like she was remembering how to use it. Tae-won, safe? She struggled with the words, her accent strange and thick. But the words were clear. He felt tears in his eyes. She had been listening to everything, learning, absorbing. All this time she had understood more than he realized. Yes, I am safe. Because of you, he managed to say. She looked down at her hands, at the blood, at the weapons she had dropped. She looked confused, like she did not recognize herself. Why you buy Hana? She paused, searching for words. The question that had haunted her. The question she had wanted to ask since the beginning. Why would someone pay for her? Why would someone want her? Tae-won knelt down so they were at eye level. He chose his words carefully, because nobody else would. Because they were going to throw you away. Because I could not watch them treat you like you were nothing, he said honestly. She stared at him, processing, thinking. Then she reached out with one hand, slowly. Carefully, she touched his hand, the first time she had ever initiated contact. Her voice was barely a whisper. Not nothing. Hana, not nothing. No, you're not nothing. You never were, Tae-won agreed, his throat tight. They sat there on the floor of the cargo bay, surrounded by the evidence of violence, but also by something new. Understanding. Connection. Trust that went both ways. She had saved his life. And in doing so, she had found her own voice. Found her name. Found proof that she was more than what had been done to her. The girl from the auction was gone. Hana had taken her place. After the attack, everything changed. Hana spoke more each day. Her words were simple at first, but she learned quickly. Within weeks, she could hold basic conversations. Her accent was strange, musical in a way that human languages were not. But Tae-won loved hearing her voice. She helped around the ship now. Her forearms made repairs easier. She was surprisingly good with tools, her small fingers able to reach places Tae-won could not. They fell into a rhythm, a partnership. But Tae-won had questions about the Velir, about what happened to them. He needed to understand, and he knew someone who might have answers. Dr. Ji-woo was an old friend. They had served in the military together, though she left to study alien species. She worked at a research station now, cataloging the cultures of the galaxy. If anyone knew about the Velir, it would be her. Tae-won called her on the comm. Her face appeared on the screen, older than he remembered, but still smiling. Tae-won, it has been years. What do you need? Always direct. He appreciated that about her. I need information about the Velir, everything you have. Her smile faded. That is a dark subject. They are extinct. Their planet was destroyed 20 years ago. Why do you ask? Tae-won glanced back. Hana was in the doorway listening. Because I have one on my ship. A survivor. Dr. Ji-woo's eyes went wide. Impossible. Are you certain? Hana stepped forward into the camera's view. Forearms, glowing eyes, iridescent skin. Dr. Ji-woo stared, her mouth open by the stars. She is real. How did you find her? I bought her at a slave auction. Nobody else wanted her. Dr. Ji-woo looked sad. Of course they did not. The Velir have a terrible history with slavers. Most would rather die than be controlled. She paused. I will send you everything I have. But Tae-won, the truth is ugly. The files arrived within an hour. Tae-won and Hana sat together in the small crew quarters, reading on a shared screen. The more they read, the worse it got. The Velir homeworld was not destroyed by accident. It was a deliberate act. The Krill Dominion, a powerful faction that controlled dozens of systems, saw the Velir as a threat. They were too intelligent, too adaptable, too difficult to control or subjugate, so the Dominion destroyed them. Orbital bombardment, chemical weapons, systematic extermination. The few Velir who escaped on ships were hunted down, captured, sold. The galaxy knew. The Galactic Council knew, but nobody stopped it. The Dominion was too powerful, too connected, and the Velir had no allies. Hana read the words slowly, her 4 hands trembling. Memories came back. Fire screaming. Her mother hiding her in a cargo pod. The last words she heard in her native language. Live. Survive. Remember us. She had been 5 years old. For 12 years after that, she was passed from owner to owner. Each one tried to break her, to make her obedient. But she fought. She bit and clawed and refused to submit, so they called her wild, damaged, worthless. Taewon watched her process this, watched her remember. He wanted to say something, but words felt inadequate. Finally, Hana spoke. How many? How many Velir left? He checked the file. Less than 100. Scattered across the galaxy. Most in captivity. Some may be dead by now. Hana stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the stars. Taewon could see her reflection in the glass. Tears ran down her face. All four hands pressed against the window. My people gone, almost all gone, not all. There are still survivors. She turned to face him. In cages and chains, like I was, suffering. Yes, she was quiet for a long time. Then she asked the question he knew was coming. What I want? If I could choose anything, what would Taewon say? He stood up, walked to her, looked her in the eyes. What do you want, Hana? She did not hesitate. Want to find others. Want Velir to not be gone. Want them to be free, like me. Taewon felt something settle in his chest. A decision. He had saved one Velir, but there were more out there. More suffering. More waiting to die in cages. He could ignore it. Could keep flying cargo runs, keep Hana safe on his ship. It would be easier, safer. But when he looked at her, he knew he could not do that. She deserved more than just survival. She deserved to have her people back. Then we find them. We free them. All of them we can reach. Hana stared at him, but dangerous. We could die. Probably. But you saved my life. Now I help save theirs. Fair trade, why? Why you do this? You are just one human, he smiled. Because one human is enough. One person can change things. You taught me that. I bought you because nobody else would. Now we buy freedom for others, one person at a time. For the first time since reading about her people's destruction, Hana smiled. Small, fragile, but real. One human. One Velir, make difference? We will see. But we have to try. Taewon contacted Daejung and Dr. Jiwoo, explained the plan. Both agreed to help immediately. Dr. Jiwoo had contacts in the underground, people who hated slavers. Daejung knew how to get in and out of places undetected. They started tracking Velir sightings, auction records, private collections, prison transfers, any information about where the survivors might be held. It was slow work, dangerous work, but necessary work. Their first lead came 2 weeks later. A Velir male held at a pleasure house on a mining station. Young, barely 18 by human standards. The place was not heavily guarded. It would be a good first mission. Hana insisted on coming. Taewon wanted her to stay safe on the ship, but she refused. These are my people, I go. I help. He could not argue with that. The night before the mission, Hana could not sleep. She sat in the cargo bay where she used to hide. Taewon found her there, looking at the spot where her cage had been. Scared? He asked, sitting beside her. Yes, but not for me. For him. The one we save tomorrow. What if he is like I was? Broken, afraid, what if I cannot help? Then you be patient. Like I was with you. You show him he is not alone. That's enough. Hana leaned against him, a gesture that would have been impossible months ago. Now it felt natural. What if we cannot save them all? Then we save the ones we can. Every person we free matters. Every life we change is worth it. You taught me that too, how I teach you that. Because I saved you. One person. Nobody thought you were worth saving. But I did. And look at you now, speaking, fighting, caring about others. You are not the broken girl from the auction anymore. You are Hana, and Hana is strong. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that made his chest tight. Thank you, for seeing me when nobody else did. Thank you for letting me, for trusting me even when you had no reason to. They sat in silence after that. Two beings from different worlds thrown together by chance, now bonded by choice. Tomorrow they would start something dangerous. Something that might get them killed. But tonight, they were just two friends sitting in the quiet of a ship, preparing to change the galaxy, one rescue at a time. The revelation was complete. They knew the truth now, knew what had been done to the Velir, knew what they had to do, and most importantly, they knew they would do it together. Because sometimes one human and one Velir were exactly enough to start a revolution. The mining station smelled like sulfur and sweat. Taewon walked through the crowded corridors with Hana close behind him. She wore a hooded cloak that hid her forearms, but her eyes still glowed in the shadows. People stared, but nobody asked questions. This was the kind of place where people minded their own business. The pleasure house was in the lower levels. Daejung had gotten them the layout. 3 guards. Cameras at the entrance. The Valier was kept in a room on the 2nd floor. His name was Kale. They waited until late, when most of the station was asleep. Daejung disabled the cameras remotely. Taewon and Hana slipped inside through a service entrance. Hana moved like a shadow. All the fear and hesitation from before was gone. She had purpose now. The guards never saw them coming. Hana's 4 hands struck pressure points, dropping them without sound. She was careful, precise. She did not want to kill unless necessary. They found Kale's room. The door was locked, but Taewon had tools. It opened with a soft click. Inside, a young Valier sat on the floor in the corner. He looked up when they entered. His eyes went wide. He saw Hana and made a sound. Not fear, recognition. Hana pulled back her hood. She spoke in the Valier language. Taewon did not understand the words, but he understood the tone. Gentle, reassuring. Safe. Kale responded. His voice was hoarse, like he had not spoken in a long time. He stood on shaking legs. He was thin, malnourished, covered in bruises, but alive. Hana reached out one hand. Kale took it. Then he looked at Taewon. Human, help? He knows some basic words. Hana nodded. Yes, he help. He good. We go now. Be safe. They moved quickly through the building. Out the service entrance. Through the dark corridors of the station. Back to the ship. Nobody stopped them. Nobody saw. When they were safely in space, Hana and Kale sat in the cargo bay. They spoke in their language for hours. Taewon watched from the doorway. At one point, both of them cried. Hana was not just telling him he was free. She was telling him about their people. About what happened. About being the last ones. Dr. Jiwoo examined Kale when they reached her station. He would survive. Physically, he would heal. But the scars inside would take longer. Hana stayed with him. Taught him that humans could be trusted. That not all beings were cruel. That was the first rescue. But not the last. Over the next year, they saved 16 more Valier. Each rescue was different. Some were easy. Guards who were lazy. Security that was weak. But others were hard. Taewon got shot twice. Hana nearly died from poison. Daejung broke 3 ribs in a fight. But they kept going. Because every Valier they freed was worth it. Every life saved mattered. Word spread through underground channels. A human was freeing Valier. People who hated slavers started helping. Information, resources, safe houses. A network grew, more allies joined. Yoonji was a hacker. She could break into any database. She found Valier locations that nobody else could. Hyunwoo was a pilot with a fast ship. He helped with extractions. Bora was a former soldier. She taught the freed Valier how to defend themselves. The Wandering Star became a home for the rescued. Some stayed. Some left to start new lives. But they all remembered. The human who started it all. The first Valier who trusted him. Hana changed too. She was not the scared girl from the auction anymore. She became a leader. The other Valier looked to her. Called her by a special name in their language. Kalis. First Flame. The one who lights the way. She taught them that not all beings were evil, that some could be trusted, that humans, strange as they were, could be friends, could be family. But the work took a toll. Each rescued Valier carried trauma. Some would not speak. Some had nightmares every night. Some were violent, unable to trust anyone. Hana sat with them all, helped them all, because she remembered being exactly where they were. One night, after a particularly hard rescue, Hana sat alone on the observation deck. They had saved a child, a young Valier girl, maybe 7 years old. She had not spoken a word, just stared with empty eyes. Taewon found Hana there, crying quietly. He sat beside her. Too many. Too much pain. How many still out there? How many we never reach? I do not know. Probably many. But we are saving the ones we can. That has to be enough, is it? Is it enough when so many suffer? Taewon took her hand. 1 of 4. Look at what we have done. 17 Valier free. 17 who would be dead or suffering. Because of you. Because you refused to give up. That is not nothing, Hana, but that girl, she is so broken, so were you. And look at you now. Give her time. Give her patience. Give her what I gave you. A chance. Hana leaned against him. Sometimes I wonder, what if you had not bought me? What if you walked away? But I did not. And neither did you. You could have stayed safe. You could have hidden. But instead you fight for others. That makes you the bravest person I know. Not brave, just cannot let them suffer. Cannot watch them be thrown away. Like I almost was, that is what courage is. Doing what is right even when it is hard. Even when it hurts, they sat in silence after that. Outside, stars streaked past. Inside, 17 Valier slept. Safe, fed, free. It was not all the Valier, but it was a start. The next morning, Hana found the young girl, the one who would not speak. Hana sat down next to her, did not try to touch her, did not try to talk. Just sat there. Hours passed. Finally, the girl looked at Hana, saw her forearms, saw her glowing eyes, saw someone who understood. The girl reached out one small hand. Hana took it gently. Then the girl spoke. One word in the Valier language, sister. Hana felt her chest tighten. Yes. Sister, we are all sisters and brothers now. All family. All safe, the girl nodded. Then for the first time since her rescue, she smiled. Small and fragile. But real Tiwan watched from the doorway. This was why they fought. For moments like this. For smiles from children who thought they would never smile again. For hope where there was none. The rescue network was growing. More people joined every month. Humans and aliens who believed that slavery was wrong. Who believed that every life mattered. The movement was no longer just about saving Valier. It was about saving everyone. But the Krill Dominion noticed. They always did. And they did not like what they saw. High Commander of the Dominion sent a message through his network. Find the humans who are freeing the Valier. Find them and stop them. Permanently. A bounty was placed. 1 million credits for information. 5 million for capture. The message was clear. The Dominion wanted this stopped. When Taewan heard about the bounty, he called a meeting. Everyone gathered in the cargo bay. The freed Valier, the human allies. The crew, this is serious. The Dominion wants us dead. Anyone who continues this work is in danger. I will not force anyone to stay. If you want to leave, I understand. Nobody left. Daejung stepped forward. We are with you, all of us. Until the end, Hana stood next to Taewan. She spoke in her clearer, stronger voice. The voice of someone who had found themselves. The Dominion think fear will stop us, but they are wrong. We are not afraid. We are angry, and we will not stop until every Valier is free. The others cheered. Not loudly, but with determination. They knew what was coming, knew it would be dangerous, but they were committed. Because sometimes the right thing to do is also the hardest thing to do. And sometimes a small group of determined people can change the galaxy. The rescue network was no longer just a few people with a ship. It was a movement, and movements once started are very hard to stop. 6 months after Korvax's prime, the Valier had a home. Not a ship, not a station, a real place. An uncharted moon in neutral space, far from the Dominion's reach. They called it Haven in human language. In the Valier language, they called it New Home. 73 Valier lived there now. Some from their rescues. Others who found their own way following rumors of a safe place. They built shelters from prefab materials, grew food in hydroponic gardens, established a small defense grid with donated equipment. It was not much, but it was theirs. Talus led them. The old Valier remembered their world before the genocide. He taught the young ones their language, their history, their culture, things that had almost been lost forever. Hana sat at the edge of the settlement, looking at the stars. She came here often when she needed to think. The settlement was busy behind her. Children playing, adults working. The sounds of a living community. But something felt wrong. Not bad, just incomplete. This was supposed to be what she wanted, her people together. Safe. Building a future. So why did she feel restless? Taewan found her there. He sat down beside her without saying anything. They had done this many times over the past months, sitting together, not needing words. Finally, Hana spoke. You leaving? It was not a question. She knew him too well. He nodded. The ship needs repairs, and there is still work to do. More Valier out there. Other species too. People who need help. You do not stay? This is your home now. Your people need you here. Talus is a good leader, but they look to you. You are Kalis. The first flame. Hana was quiet. Then she asked the question that had been bothering her. What if I want both? Want my people safe, but also want to help others. Want to be here, but also want to be there. Then you choose. Nobody can make that choice for you. What would you choose? Taewon smiled. I already did. I chose to keep going. To keep looking for people who need help. But that is me. You have to decide what is right for you. Hana stood up, walked a few steps, turned back to him. Can I come? Taewon blinked in surprise. Come. With me? Yes. My people safe now. Talus leads them well, but you alone. And humans need someone watch their back. Hana, you have earned rest. You have done enough. Not enough. Never enough while others suffer. You teach me that. Also, your ship repairs terrible. 4 arms better than 2. She was grinning now. That mischievous look that meant she had made up her mind. Taewon laughed. Is that the only reason? No. Also because you are my friend. My family. And family do not leave family alone. Taewon felt his chest get tight. He extended his hand. She took it with one of hers. Partners? Partners, she confirmed. They shook on it. A human gesture she had learned. An agreement between equals. The next day they prepared the Wandering Star for departure. The Velir community gathered to see them off. Talus approached Hana. You do not have to go. We need you here. Hana spoke in the Velir language. Formal, respectful. You lead them well, better than I could. But there are others still in chains. I must help them, as I was helped. Talus nodded slowly. Then go with our blessing. You are always welcome here. This is your home. But I understand the call to help others. It is in your nature now. The human taught you well, or maybe I teach him. Hard to tell. She grinned. Talus laughed. The sound was rare but beautiful. May you walk safely, Kalis, and may you bring many more home. The Wandering Star lifted off from the moon's surface. Inside, Taewon and Hana sat in the cockpit together. She had taken the co-pilot seat permanently now. It was hers. Had been for a while. Where we go first? She asked. Taewon pulled up a file. A lead. Rumor of a Velir child in a mining colony. 3 sectors away. There. We start there. Hana nodded. Began running diagnostics. They fell into their rhythm, working together like they had done 100 times before. It felt right. Natural. As they prepared for the jump to hyperspace, Hana looked back at the moon shrinking in the view screen. Her people were there, safe, growing, building a future. It was everything she had wanted. But there were others who did not have that, others still suffering in the dark. And she could not ignore them. Not when she remembered being in that cage. Being that broken. Being thrown away. Regrets? Taewon asked softly. She shook her head. No. Gratitude. For what? For prove one human enough to change galaxy. Taewon smiled. 1 human and 1 Velir. Better team. Yes, better team. The ship jumped to hyperspace. Stars stretched into lines of light. Behind them, the Velir settlement continued to grow. Ahead of them, countless others waited for rescue. The work was not done. Would never be completely done. But that was okay. Because they were not in this alone anymore. The movement had grown. Other species started their own rescue networks. Inspired by the story of a human who bought a girl nobody wanted, who refused to give up on her, who proved that one person could make a difference. The slave trade still existed. But it was weaker now. Hunted. Opposed. The Krill Dominion faced sanctions from the Galactic Council. Their genocide was no longer a secret. Public opinion turned against them. Change was slow. But it was happening. One rescue at a time. One freed life at a time. One human and one Velier at a time. Years later, historians would write about this period, about the Velier restoration, about how a species came back from the edge of extinction. They would credit many factors: political pressure, economic sanctions, military intervention, but the Velier themselves knew the truth. It started with one human, one decision, one moment at an auction when someone raised their hand and said 3,000 credits. One person who saw value where everyone else saw nothing. That was the power of humanity. Not their technology, not their weapons, not their strength. It was their stubborn, beautiful, impossible refusal to accept injustice, their tendency to pack bond with anyone and everyone, their determination to help even when it made no logical sense. 10 years after the auction, the phrase had spread across the galaxy, translated into 100 languages. A human paid for her. It became shorthand, a promise, a hope. It meant someone will come. Nobody is forgotten. No one is worthless. On a backwater station in the Outer Rim, another auction was ending. A frightened child stood on the stage. Nobody bid. The auctioneer prepared to remove the worthless merchandise. Then a young human woman in the back raised her hand. She had heard the stories, read about Taiwan and Hana, learned what one person could do. 2,000 credits, she said clearly. The auctioneer blinked in surprise. The child looked up with desperate, hopeful eyes. Sold. And so it continued. The cycle of rescue, the chain of compassion, started by one human, carried forward by many, human and alien alike. Somewhere in the galaxy, Taiwan and Hana flew through hyperspace, still rescuing, still fighting. Older now, scarred, tired, but not stopping, never stopping, because that was what they did. That was who they were. A human, and a Velier who proved that family is not about blood or species. It is about choice, about standing together, about refusing to leave anyone behind. The auction had ended long ago. The wild alien girl was gone. In her place was Hana, strong, wise, free. And beside her was the human who saw her worth when nobody else did. Together they had changed everything. And together they would continue until every cage was empty. Every chain was broken. Every forgotten person was found. Because humanity does not quit. And those who learn from humanity, they do not quit either. The stars stretched into infinity. The work was never finished. But the journey was everything. And they walked it together. One human, one Velier, one unbreakable bond forged in the darkest place and tempered by hope. That was the story. That was the legacy. And it would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. The auction ended. But the story never ends. The message came through encrypted channels. Yunji decoded it at her station, her face going pale as she read. She immediately called Taiwan. We have a problem. A big one. Taiwan looked at the screen. What is it? The Dominion has a Velier, an important one. His name is Talus. He was a leader before the genocide. They are holding him at Korvax Prime. Korvax Prime was a fortress station, a military installation, the most secure place in Dominion space. Taiwan felt his stomach drop. That is a trap, Yunji nodded. Obviously, but the intelligence is real. I verified it. Talus is there. And there are others with him. 50 more Velier. All captives. 50. That was more Velier than they had rescued in a year. Taiwan's mind raced. Why would they keep so many in one place? Leverage. They want us to come. They will use the Velier as bait. Taiwan called a meeting. Everyone gathered. When he explained the situation, the room went quiet. It was Bora who spoke first. It is a trap. We all know it. They want to kill us all at once, Hana stood up. But Talus is real. 50 Velier are real. We leave them? We leave them to die. That is what will happen if we do not go. The room erupted in argument. Half wanted to go. Half wanted to stay. It was too dangerous. It was too important. They could die. They could save 50 lives. Taiwan raised his hand. Silence fell. I will not force anyone to go. This is suicide, probably, but Hana is right. We cannot leave them. That is not who we are. He looked around the room. Who is with me? Every hand went up. Every single one. Taewon felt his throat get tight. These people. These brave, foolish people. They knew they might die, but they were going anyway. They spent 2 weeks planning, gathering allies, calling in every favor. Sympathetic smugglers donated ships. Freed slaves with combat experience volunteered. Even a rogue Dominion officer who hated the commander joined them. The plan was complex, three-pronged. Bo-Ra and Hyun-Woo would lead a frontal assault on the docking bay. Create chaos. Draw attention. Meanwhile, Yoonji would hack the security grid from a nearby relay station, and Taewon, Hana, and Daijung would infiltrate the detention block. It was a terrible plan. Too many things could go wrong, but it was the only plan they had. The night before the assault, Hana found Taewon in the cockpit. He was staring at the star map, trying not to think about how many people might die tomorrow. Scared? She asked. He nodded. Yes, very scared. Not for me. For everyone else. What if I get them killed? Hana sat in the co-pilot chair. Her chair. They choose to come. Nobody forced them. They believe in this. In you, what if I am wrong? What if this is a mistake? Then we make mistake together. But Taewon, you teach me something. You teach me that some things worth risk. 50 Velier worth risk. Your life worth risk. My life worth risk, he looked at her. When did you become so wise? She smiled. When human buy wild alien girl at auction. That when everything changed. The assault began at dawn station time. Bora's team hit the docking bay hard. Explosions, gunfire, chaos. The Dominion forces responded immediately, just as planned. Yoonji's hack worked. Barely. The security grid flickered. Went down for 30 seconds. It was enough. Taewon, Hana, and Daejung slipped through the outer perimeter, but the Dominion was ready. They knew someone would come. Soldiers waited in the corridors. Taewon and his team fought their way forward. Hana moved like water, her forearms a blur. Daejung used his technical skills to open doors and disable traps. They reached the detention block. The doors were locked with triple security. Daejung worked on the override while Taewon and Hana held off pursuing soldiers. Plasma bolts burned the air. The smell of ozone filled the corridor. Got it, Daejung shouted. The doors opened. Inside were 50 Velier, scared, confused, but alive. And at the center of them stood Talus, old, scarred, but his eyes were bright with intelligence. We are here to free you. Come with us now, Taewon said. Talus looked at Hana, spoke in the Velier language. She responded, he nodded. Then he turned to his people and gave orders. They moved. But as they ran toward the escape route, alarms blared louder. The station's intercom crackled. A voice spoke, cold, amused. Did you think we would make it easy? This station is now in self-destruct mode. You have 10 minutes. You cannot save them all. Not in time, the High Commander. He had been watching, waiting. This was his endgame. Kill all the Velier and their rescuers in one explosion. Taewon's mind raced. 10 minutes. 50 Velier plus their team. Too many for the escape pods. Not enough time. Go. Get them to the pods, he shouted. Chaos erupted. People ran. Hana and Bo-Ra led groups of Velier toward the docking bay. Taewon and Daejung brought up the rear, making sure nobody was left behind. But the blast doors were closing. Security protocols. In 3 minutes, they would seal completely. Anyone on the wrong side would be trapped. Daejung saw the problem. Saw the solution. He stopped running. I can override it, but I need to do it from the control room. Back there, no, we find another way. There is no other way. Go get them out, Daejung. Taewon grabbed his arm. You will die. Daejung smiled. Sad but calm. Someone has to. 51 Velier or 1 mechanic. Easy math, go, brother. Make it count. He pulled away and ran back toward the control room. Taewon screamed his name. But Daejung did not stop. Did not look back. Taewon ran. Tears streaming down his face. He herded the last group of Velier through the blast doors. Just as they cleared, the doors stopped closing. Held open by Daejung's override, they reached the escape pods. Packed in tight. Too tight, but they fit. Barely. The pods launched just as the countdown hit 0. Korvax Prime exploded. A massive fireball in the black of space. Beautiful and terrible. Daejung was gone. But 51 Velir were alive. Bora had taken plasma burns across her chest. She would survive, but it was close. Yunwu's ship was crippled but functional. Others had injuries, but they had won, barely, at a terrible cost. In the cramped escape pod, Hana sat with Taiwan. She held one of his hands with two of hers. She did not speak. What could she say? Dae-jung had been his friend, his brother, and now he was gone. Finally, Taiwan spoke, his voice broken. Too much death. Too much pain. Is it worth it? Hana looked at the 51 Velir crowded in the pods. Scared but alive, free, I do not know. But Dae-jung thought yes. And they are alive because of him. Because of us, he died for them. For strangers, no, he died for what is right. That is human way. That is what you teach me. You do not quit, even when should. Even when cost everything. Taiwan looked at her. When did I become the one who needs reminding? When you save Wild Alien Girl? When you show her what courage is? Now I show you. We do not stop. We do not give up. We keep going. For Dae-jung. For all of them. Taiwan nodded slowly. She was right. Dae-jung would not want them to stop. Would not want his sacrifice to be meaningless. They had to keep going. Had to keep fighting because that was what humans did. They did not quit. Even when it hurt. Even when it cost everything. They kept going because it was right. And Hana, who learned from watching them, had become more human than some humans. Not in biology, but in spirit. In stubborn, beautiful, impossible determination. The reckoning was over. They had paid the price. But they had won. And now they would build something from the ashes.